This large nut is the seed to our native black walnut tree, and today we're prepping these seeds for planting in the spring. Hey guys, it's Anna from Bright Lane Gardens. Today we're working with our black walnut seeds and getting them prepped for cold stratification. This is our harvested black walnut seed. This is the actual seed that comes out of a larger green shell. Our first step, of course, happened several months ago, and that's to actually collect your seeds. Your seeds will be in a greenish colored shell, also known as a husk, and that's the fruit that is produced by the black walnut tree. In the fall months, you'll notice these falling down onto the ground. Typically, they're scattered around sidewalks, and you'll likely notice dark brown spots on any pavement or concrete that surrounds the tree. This is actually a stain that comes from the husk, so always make sure that you're wearing gloves when you harvest the seeds and when you pull that husk off. You'll want to look for nuts that feel heavy and solid with no holes and no mold. You'll notice that some of these nuts will have holes in that husk already, likely caused from squirrels or other small mammals. You'll want to avoid these. There's a good chance that they got to the nut already. Once you've harvested your nuts, you have to remove that husk. The easiest way to do this is to step on it with the heel of your boot and create a crack in that harder shell that you can then peel open to reveal this nut inside. So this is what we're working with today. These were harvested over the fall. They were kept in a slightly moist vermiculite mix over the winter months. It's now February and we are starting our cold stratification process so that we can plant these seeds up in May or June of this year. Today we're focused specifically on this cold stratification process. Cold stratification is a process that's required by a lot of native seeds, whether they're herbaceous perennials, trees, or shrubs, and it basically mimics those winter conditions. So here in northern Michigan, we of course get a lot of snow. We have a lot of temperatures that are below 20 degrees. And overall, the seeds that are on the ground here are just exposed to a lot of cold, wet conditions. Now that we're starting our seeds indoors, we have to make sure that we're mimicking those conditions so that our seeds know that it's time to break that dormancy once they hit that heated soil in the spring and that it's time to go ahead and germinate. My first step when I'm working with these black walnut seeds is going to be to soak these seeds for 24 hours in warm water. Now, this water doesn't have to stay warm. I just like to make sure that I'm putting in nice hot water when I first get started. Usually I just let the tap run for a minute or two, and I put in as hot as the tap can get into a glass dish, and you're going to put each of your seeds in there as well. So I have 5 of these seeds that have been soaking for 24 hours, and they're now ready for the next step. We don't need too much to stratify these black walnut seeds. You're going to start with a plastic Ziploc baggie, and you just need some sort of well-draining medium. In this container here, I have a little bit of vermiculite mixed with coco coir. I typically use coco coir for most of my cold stratification processes. If it's a different kind of seed, like a milkweed seed, I'll use a coffee filter or a paper towel. In this case, I have some vermiculite added to it because it was the same vermiculite that those seeds stayed in once I harvested them last fall. So either way, you just want a medium that can stay moist, but is also well draining. So you don't want something heavy like your garden soil. You don't want something that's too lightweight like perlite. You want something that can hold a little bit of moisture, but that is also well draining. When it comes to your moisture content inside of your baggie, what I like to compare it to is a wrung out sponge. So I have a handful of my medium here, and what I'm gonna do is wrap my hand around it and squeeze. And there are no drops of water coming out of this mix, but I can tell just by feeling it that it's still nice and damp. So you do want some moisture in there, but not enough that you could actually wring it out and create water with your hand. These baggies are a little small. I would actually go the next size up. We don't have any of those right now, but these seeds are just so big compared to the other native seeds that I typically stratify that we'll see if we can fit all 5 of them in this baggie. So you're gonna open your Ziploc bag. We are going to dump our mixture in here. Our goal is to make sure that we have enough of our moist medium to completely surround the seeds inside of our baggie. That means I'm probably gonna have to fill this up about 3/4 of the way full, hopefully leaving enough room for my seeds as well. Okay, so I have my moist medium inside of my baggie, and my next step is to add my black walnut seeds. I'm pulling these seeds directly out of this water and putting them straight into my bag. Let them drip off just a little bit because we don't want to introduce too much moisture in there, but you by no means need to make these dry out on the countertop. It's a little tight in there, but I think we're gonna be able to make this work. So as you can see, all of my walnuts are sitting right on the surface there. I don't want that to be the case. So I'm gonna try to maneuver those around and get them deeper into the soil so that they have soil completely surrounding each of these seeds or nuts. Now, before I seal up this baggie, there's one more thing I wanna add. That's going to be my label. You want to make sure you're labeling it not only with the name, but with today's date, because I need to know when I started this cold stratification process so that I know when I get to pull these guys out of the fridge. Once you have your seeds, your moist medium, and your label inside of that baggie, burp out as much air as you can and seal it up. And this is officially our black walnut seed pack that we're going to place in a refrigerator. Refrigerators work best for your cold stratification needs. I do recommend this as opposed to putting it in an unheated garage or an outbuilding. The temperature just stays nice and consistent. You don't run the risk of freezing, which freezing is not great for your seeds. So don't put these in the freezer hoping that you can shorten that cold stratification process. You always want to make sure that you're keeping these seeds usually right around 35 degrees, plus or minus 5 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to put these in my refrigerator in a place that's not likely to be disturbed. I actually have a couple shelves in my fridge out in the garage that are dedicated to native seed starting, and nothing else goes on those shelves, so I don't run the risk of spilled food or drink. And there's also just very little rummaging around on those shelves, so less risk of the seeds getting moved or opened or dried out quickly. Black walnut seeds need to be cold stratified for 90 to 120 days. And what this range means is they have to have these cold, moist conditions for a minimum of 90 days. But for the best germination rate, you're going to want to get as close to that 120-day mark as you possibly can. So 90 to 120 days. Think ahead as well and think about when you plan on planting these. You do need to plant these seeds as soon as they come out of cold stratification. So if you're going on vacation in 3 months, definitely don't plan on pulling those out of cold stratification after 90 days. You'll want to leave those in the fridge a little bit longer and don't remove them until the day that you are ready to plant. While these guys are in the fridge, I do want to make sure I'm checking on my seeds once a month. So usually once every 3 to 4 weeks is a good time frame. And what I'm looking for are signs of mold or mildew. I'm looking for moisture content, too much or too little, and then I'm also looking for any signs of germination, which can sometimes happen ahead of that 90-day mark. So in a month, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna actually open this baggie and take a look inside. If I see any signs of mold or mildew, so we're looking for white powdery substances, it might look like a spider web, any signs of mold likely indicates a little bit too much moisture in that baggie. So you can go ahead and leave that baggie cracked open, let it dry out for a day or so, and then go ahead and seal that back up. On the flip side of that, I'm also making sure that my soil medium hasn't dried out too much. You will get a little bit of natural drying. These are actually not airtight containers, of course, so we are going to lose a little bit of moisture through that baggie. Typically, when I do check my cold stratified seeds once a month, I'm also doing a light spray of water along the top of the baggie just to keep that moisture content. This doesn't require much. You're not going to want to use a watering can or anything like that for this. You'll want to use a spray bottle or a seedling mister, something that can deliver a fine but broad area of moisture. That's about as much as I would do for my monthly check-in. And lastly, I'm looking for signs of germination. So if I'm picking up one of my seeds here, I'm looking to see, has it started to split open? Do I see anything starting to pop out of that shell? Do I see any signs of green? Anything like that, and you'll want to immediately pull that seed out of the bag and get it in soil. It's important that the moment we notice signs of germination that we're planting up these seeds, because unfortunately leaving them in the fridge beyond that is likely to make that seed unviable for planting in the spring. Now I will do another update video when these are ready to be pulled out and planted, but a couple planting tips in case you want to get started on it before I have my video up and running. We want to try to plant these with the pointed side down. Sometimes it's not as obvious with the black walnuts, but when you're looking at the walnuts themselves, if you see one side is more rounded than the other, you'll want to have the pointier side facing down. Another tip, plant these directly in the soil or a deep nursery bed, or at minimum a 2 or 3 gallon container. Black walnut seeds develop deep tap roots very early on. So if you start them in a shallow container or a tray, they're unlikely to survive more than a couple weeks. So plan ahead and make sure that you're getting these guys in plenty of soil so that that taproot can grow down deeply right off the bat. That's it for today. Now we play the waiting game. But in the meantime, we are starting a ton of different native perennials, shrubs, and tree seeds right now. So definitely subscribe to our channel and set up your alerts if this is the type of content that you're interested in. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in with our channel today. It seriously helps out small businesses like ours so much, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye-bye.